we'd like to thank our partners in this forum today. They're here for Ear on the Street, the Canadian Multicultural Corporation, the Cities Under Bay, Lakewood University, Confederation of College, our partners in employment, the Employment Works, and Firedog Communications. We have had a wonderful partnership with all of these agencies, Chamber of Commerce, doing our promotion, just to bring everyone together for a career fair and for our forum this morning. So it's my pleasure to welcome our Mayor, Hobbs, to come and bring greetings from the city, introduce who is here, and I told him that he had to fill the space for Jason Penny. So we'll see what he can.
Thanks very much, Kathy. And it is an honor and a privilege to be here this morning in the one hall of everyone. Which is one of the city of Monterey that is built on the traditional land of the Portland for the First Nation and very free. I want to recognize also the contribution to their maybe I want to recognize some dignitaries as well. I see that Richard Harvey is here. Rebecca Johnson short. Thank you very much. I also want to recognize the partners in the Chamber of Commerce this year as a charter. I'm very pleased to see John Mason. We're doing great work. If anyone's seen the new video that CBC just put out, I also want to touch on the events yesterday. So welcome to the annual Federal Day Immigration Forum. I'm pleased to see so many people here attending this important event yet again. This year's theme is engaging our talent, tapping into our region's potential. The focus here is simple: a discussion of how we as a city and region can better attract and retain. There are many reasons why cities such as Thunder Bay would endeavor to bring more people from outside of our region and country into the settle. Of course, there are the skills and abilities they bring, and the experience that allows them to contribute to our society and to our economy. There are vast amounts of expertise that spans sectors and industries that can be transferred and built on. We recognize that and appreciate that. In addition, however, those who immigrate bring with them their social and cultural background, those things that make them unique. Simply put, we can learn a great deal from those who come from outside the country. They make our city richer through expanding our cultural horizon and enhancing our social fabric. I'm an immigrant myself. My parents immigrated to Monterey before I was 16 years old. We got to Montreal in the SS Franconia when we landed. This is a true story. We got to the point of head to go to the United States of America. Those were still in Canada. I don't know whether the U.S. won or lost or Canada won or lost, but here we are. My mother was a linguist. She taught high school and she knew 6 languages. She still knows 6 languages. She's 90 years old. My dad just got out of the war and he wanted to get away from England and get to a new country, a free country. And Canada is the choice. Canada is the best country in the world. We've always said. But they did bring skill sets with them. That's what immigrants from Canada. We were talking about mining jobs here from CBC. We're looking at 8,000 jobs in the next 2 years with the creation of mines and deployment and production. We can't fill those jobs. We don't have the labor force. So we have to look outside and we have to look at the immigration. I want to thank Kathy and all the work that the Multicultural Association does in Thunder Bay, bringing people talent, and once they're here, looking after them, connect said, I'm pleased to see there's more happening again here. I'm also pleased to see such an excellent turnout. Attracting and retaining immigrants can benefit us all. It is here that we will devise new strategies for our own existing ones to allow us to do much better. So thank you all for coming. Enjoy the day. Sorry that Minister Kenny, that's where I'm supposed to introduce him right now, he's not here, but Kathy, I'll let you carry on and have a great day.
I know that when we talk about Country Multicultural Association and the work that we do, I end up being at all of the events, but let me tell you, I don't do all of the work. And the planning of this event today was really accomplished by Michelle McKenzie. I'm going to call on her now to come and introduce our speakers. Not only did she plan everything, she replanned it yesterday and last night based on the minister not being able to be here and moving things around, and has done a fantastic job, and we do appreciate her. And Michelle has such an easygoing personality and can roll with the punches and make things happen. And yesterday I spoke to a colleague in Ottawa, Lucia Spencer, who's from the island as well. She's from Antigua and Barbuda, and we talk about, are you safe in Ottawa, how are things, and we were talking about a proposal, and they were on lockdown, and she just said, oh, life, what do we do? We live it. And so she was moving on, and I thought, that reminds me of Michelle. She takes all the things that happen, and she makes it work, and we want to thank her for that.
There's nothing like having fun. Okay, so I've substituted our presentation for Minister Kenny, and Christian has gladly agreed to do a presentation on, is it a project? He'll explain it more. So I would like Christian Howell to come forward. He is the French version of me. I don't know if he's as good as I am, but...
That was good looking.
My setup here. I want to thank you for having me here. This is I consider myself a community developer and a world changer, but I'm not actually job available for world changers. So presently, I'm the coordinator of the Northern Ontario Francophone Immigration Support Network. For the last 10 years, I've been working in community development, trying to make this Northern Ontario a place where my kids can grow up and actually live. But there's a few obstacles to that, and I've been working. I got the chance to do a lot of work with the Suzuki Foundation. Last year I was on MC with Chris Hatfield at a conference showing kids from college university how to do sustainable development. But there's always parts missing because we do band-aid solutions. So I'm going to give you a warning right now. I've learned that I don't have the time to nuance and make everybody happy. So I may upset you with some things I say. Possibly some of you won't even want to work with me. That's fine, because I'm here to to generate discussion. I want to open your mind, and that we do not evolve out of bliss and out of happiness. Okay, so sustainable development, meeting the needs of today without compromising the ability of future generations to meet theirs. It's a beautiful picture we paint for ourselves so we can have hope for our kids to move forward. But it all comes down to community development. Is it really happening? There's three major obstacles when we're talking about, I'm pressing the wrong button. Okay, there's three major obstacles when we're dealing with sustainable development. The first one is planned obsolescence patterns. The second one is, and engineers in the room here will know what it is, called the Jevons paradox. The third one is the triple bottom line. When we say we need to think about the economy, the environment, and about the social. And the next one is market segmentation. So the first one, planned obsolescence. We're planning, sustainable development is made for profit. So basically, we're made to feel guilty at a very young age. If you want to save the world, you need to go spend $40 on that light bulb. You need to buy more efficient, and it's way too complicated for you to do. Let's leave it to those really smart people that and then you need to buy always more efficient. Who here remembers the telephone used to be able to slam down when you were mad at it? And then you can still use it right away afterwards. But those were not efficient. You have to keep buying newer. And it's too complicated. Let's leave this to the engineers. Let's leave this to people that get paid lots of money because we're not smart enough to do this. Then how come Google is hiring 16-year-olds to develop the next generation of evolution? Go. And the next one is patents. We've patented everything. So we've got corporations around the world for sustainable development so they can feed the world. They put patents on life. A goat that produces silk. A pig that produces omega-3 fatty acids. Tomatoes with elephant genes. It makes absolutely no sense if you want to talk sustainability. It's when you put patents on something, it's basically so one corporation can make money off of that and nobody else can. The first example, I want to talk about sustainable development for profit. Who here has heard of the Centennial light bulb? The light bulb was developed to last forever. But in 1924, the 4 largest light bulb producers in the world invented or created the Phoebus cartel. They invented planned obsolescence. We are losing money because our light bulbs last too long. Let's make it so it lasts as long anymore. And then now you have to change every 6 months. Now this light bulb, which is in Livermore, California, has been burning in the fire station since 1901. It's outlived 4 caretakers. But now to save the world, these same companies are selling light bulbs at $50, $60 a piece, some of them $100 a piece. Same thing with the electric vehicle. The electric vehicle was invented in 1832, the first electric car in 1834. And then it was put away because some corporations were losing money because these cars were too efficient. There you go. And was it in, when did we save GM so they could save the world with the electric car? $25 billion they received. Around the world, Monsanto is bankrupting farmers so they can feed the world. 50,000 Hindu farmers have committed suicide this far because the only way they can get out of debt towards Monsanto is by committing suicide. Therefore, the families can have a new start. That is not sustainable development. Number 2, the Jevons paradox. Greater efficiency leads to greater waste. The more technological improvements we have, we think, well, it's going to save money, it's going to use less. But then it becomes more efficient to use, and then we increase consumption. That's why we now have to have a plug every 6 feet in the house instead of having 1 plug per room. In 1950, you could raise a family of 5 in a house that was 1,000 square feet. And now you see families, again, I don't want to make you feel guilty, I just want to make you realize what is actually happening. These people are buying ultra-efficient homes, 5,000 square feet for 2 people. But this house is 30% more efficient. Well, let's do the math. It's 30% more efficient than the same house that would have been built 40 years ago. It still used 5 times the resource to build this house than the house that would have been adequate for a family to raise their kids in. It's marketing to spend money to make money. Instead of driving 1 car, about 8 miles a gallon, now the average family has, what, 2, 3, 4 cars that get 30 miles a gallon each. But then instead of driving 10 kilometers, we're driving 500 kilometers. So we're still using 10, 20 times the gas. And we're using 10, 20 times the metal. Instead of having one cell phone, I still get told that the old cell phones are still the best ones. You had a charge that lasted a week and a half to 2 weeks. The phone never went down. Now you have to buy a new phone every 6 months. Well, we're convinced. We don't actually have to. But did you know that 15 million cell phones go to the garbage every year in Canada? To become more efficient. Used to have one TV, the tube TV. My parents-in-law gave us theirs, was 30 years old. And we got rid of it because it was too big. And now in my family, we have 3 TVs died this year. Luckily, we had warranty. And we see around the world where we have companies like Monsanto. I like Monsanto actually, they are forcing governments they're convincing it that they have to use their seed because their seed is the only one that can feed the world. That the farms that are there who are feeding their families cannot do it. So that's what I was talking about, 50,000 Hindu farmers that have already committed suicide because it's not working. And the triple bottom line, the other difficulty. Making sure that children's children will be able to live well in the environment they inherit from us. Let's give them to Northern Ontario for an example. We have companies that come here, let's cut all these trees down as fast as possible so nobody else can come here and come inside of us. In Finland, which has the same environment as we do, they get 5 times more tree out per acre. They get 5 times more tree out per acre than we do sustainably because they have community forests. What we have here is forestry tenures. Decisions are made outside of the area and then they hand it out to foreign corporations. I'll give you the example again, some really smart ideas. When in Kenora, they figured out they could make popsicle sticks cheaper than China. So the federal government gave them money to do it. The provincial government said, no, you don't have access to the forest. Is that sustainable development? Triple bottom line, sustainable development is primarily funded by corporations whose only job foreign shareholders, and when the resources are used up, they move on to somewhere else. So we're not thinking about the people because we're trying to cut wages. We're not thinking about the planet. Well, we are thinking about the planet because we're thinking about where we're going to move next. The only thing that counts is profit. Again, I'm giving you two black and whites. Not everybody that does this, but it's the ones that do this have gotten so powerful that they have a major effect on our lives. I'm sure you've heard of the Occupy movement. I'm sure you've heard of Idle No More, the striking students in Quebec. This is what they're mad about. They're mad that 99% of people do all the work while 1% make the money. But they got easily discredited because they were sitting in Queen's Park for a month. How could you afford to camp there for a month? It must be because you're rich. It must be because you have nothing else to do. Could it have been maybe because they had nowhere else to go? So there's a system where our natural resources are being exported. Small family farms and small local businesses have been being put out of business. And there's nothing we could do about it. The local purchasing policies are an infringement to the World Trade Organization North American Free Trade Agreement. In Sudbury, where I live, they tried to pass a bylaw, force it to make it so they have to buy as much stuff as possible local. It is illegal. You could get charged for it because it's called antitrust or other things like that. Remember when we had the softwood lumber crisis? Well, the Canadian government said, you know what, we're going to impose tariffs on foreign wood so we can help our local lumber mills. They got fined millions and millions of dollars because the Americans weren't happy about it. So they said, oh, sorry. Fourth problem is market segmentation. For the sake of profit, we're separated the community into parcels. You're now in a cage for your life, for your childhood. Let's go to daycare. And then you work like a horse all your life to be locked up like an animal for retirement. Meanwhile, what if we work together? You run into places where you have signs, no kids allowed. No, this is where elderly people have to be. No, you cannot allow families here. That is not sustainable development. We're forgetting the social aspect. Because truly sustainable development can only be ensured if the human takes precedence over profit. It comes down to community development. And that's why you're all here. You're looking at how you can develop the community, make it more welcoming for immigrants, work on the retention of the people that we do have, making it so the next generation can also still live here. So first thing, there's 3 things that should be made illegal. It should be illegal to speculate on food. The last food crisis in 2006 was caused by Cargill. They stockpiled their rice, and the rice prices doubled. So they created a famine to increase their profits, but nobody did anything to them about it. It should be legal to speculate on farmland. What we've called going on now, right now in Canada is called a land grab. There's only one province in Canada, it's Prince Edward Island, where foreign corporations cannot come and buy the land. So because our land's value is going up in a more stable fashion than the value of the stock market, the very wealthy are now buying land. And that is why housing is becoming less and less affordable. This started in Vancouver when Hong Kong was being taken over from China again. Their investors started looking in Canada for housing. That's when the whole upsell, well, this was just your starter home. Go get another one, go get a bigger one, because look at the profit you made. But that only makes money for real estate agents and lawyers. So 3 solutions for real sustainable development. You need to develop collectively. What you're doing here is you're all here to collaborate, to work together, to help each other out. You don't all have to agree, but you can always come to a consensus. And then sharing resources, helping each other out. And then my favorite is open source technology. So collective development. I like making it look like an atom. At the center, I put the co-op sign, because the co-op sign is the whole idea behind a cooperative enterprise, people helping each other out. The goal is not profit, but make sure the service continues. That's why here you have True North Valley Co-op. Cut out the 1% who are there to just gouge you, and cut out the people that are just here to make money and then leave with it. I'm not against making money. I'm against making money and taking it away from the area, that the money doesn't recirculate. After the Occupy movement, it kind of died here. But in the States, it continued. What they called on the 5th of November, Guy Fawkes Day, they said they started Move Your Money. 13 million Americans closed their bank account to go to a credit union or to a community bank. Because credit unions, if they have profits, it's called, sorry, now I'm thinking in French, la plus-value, du trop perçu. They charge you too much for your services. Therefore, it comes back to you, or you have your dividends, or at the end of the year, they have sponsorships, they have community activities. The goal is not to make profit. That's why credit unions, you go there, you don't have service fees. I'm talking about fusions between an association and a business, by and for the community. Help local communities start businesses. Because if you start a little store here, you're going to make sure you take care of your clients, because if you don't give them good service, you're losing your clients, you're losing your livelihood. That is the difference between a large corporation who hires people at minimum wage. Hey, they got lawyers to take care of that problem. You don't need to worry about the local people think, unless you want to increase your profits. So the association helps you grow as a person, the business helps you make a living. Number 2, shared resources. We need to change our narrow thinking and start thinking bigger. Start thinking in systems. Help each other, diversify, create jobs, and keep money local. I'll start giving you examples now. Solar power. What I think is the biggest scam going is that microfit program. Get in debt, put solar panels on your house, and we'll give you money for the next 20 years. What's happened now? The poor people cannot afford their hydro anymore. Hydro One is sending $2,000 bills like, surprise! But they started a consultation group to see if they could deal with that or what they should do about it. You can go online and buy the solar panels at 90% less than where you buy them from these systems. The provincial government signed a contract, a $7 billion contract with Samsung, so they would come and build solar panels here. They're the ones making the money, not the people in the communities. Now, what if you went into the schools and started teaching the kids how to build solar panels, and then start putting solar panels up here, built by people here? What if you took these solar panels and instead of going and trying to fit into the grid, because that's what's happening in my area, Northern Ontario's electrical system is held together with Christmas lights, so we don't have the capacity to put more solar panels. What they realized with the last hurricane in the States, when millions of people are out of hydro, hey, maybe we should start thinking of microgrids. Microgrids. Let's set up 4, 5, 6 homes together on a set of solar panels. But what if the solar panel, what if there's no sun? Well, now this is where you start thinking in a system. This is a Band-Aid project, but in a system, you wouldn't just have solar panels. Who here heard about Mohammed Yunus with his Grameen Shakti? He was a creator of microcredit. This worked so well that they tried to throw him in jail in 2006. He had women on his board of directors. You must be running a scam because women aren't smart enough to do that. Isn't that disgusting? What he realized, let's train women to be engineers, let's send them into communities and start showing people how to live off-grid. Again, let's look at the big picture. What's happened in Haiti? Everybody cut the trees down so they can make fire to heat the homes and cook. What happened? Because all the trees were cut, they had landslides. Everything has gone really bad. There's 75 million people without access to hydro in Bangladesh. So they realized, well, let's look over there, what happened, let's try to avoid, let's stop them from cutting wood. And let's look for alternatives. What does every single animal on the planet produce? Poop. Poop fermented is called biomass. It's not wood chips to make jet fuel for fighter jets. It's something to become self-sufficient. So you got a nice sunny day. You generate a lot of electricity. Oh, I'm losing money because I'm not putting in the grid. No. You're making electricity to kickstart the digestive process in your biomass. So farmers in Bangladesh with 5 cows and 50 chickens is now making enough natural gas to power his little village. So they can now cook and have light. This is something we could do here. Now let's look at the bigger picture again. What are the First Nations problems we have in Northern Ontario? They get gouged by petroleum companies because they're off of generators. Their water treatment sucks because it's intermittent. The rivers are getting polluted, and then they can't produce food because it's too expensive. So now, with biomass, because we all produce it, you start treating your sewage so you're not polluting the rivers. You get heat, because a byproduct of the biomass production is heat. So you can heat your community pools, you can heat your community arenas, you can heat greenhouses. You've got natural gas. So let's think even bigger. The internal combustion engine is only 35% efficient. We've got people working on fuel cells. I'm sure some of you must have heard about the Bloom Energy Server. So you've got thinkers here in Thunder Bay who can develop this. But instead of applying it somewhere else, let's start applying it here. So now you have the ability to produce food, clean water, and you're innovating, you're training leaders and developers right here. Let's go a little further. What's another problem is the electric car. So remember in 2008 we saved GM, gave them $25 billion so they could give us the Volt. Let's pay $60,000 for the Volt. Or you can go online and buy a kit. For $3,000 you could turn any car into an electric car. What if you did that in schools? Let's look a little Let's look a little further. What do we have? I do a lot of volunteer work with kids with the breakfast clubs and also the YMCA in Sudbury. And kind of 17, 18, 19, that's when we start losing them because most programs dropped in there. Children's Aid, basically, after 18, they're not with them anymore. So now the kids are at risk. I didn't coin that term. Norbert Elias, a German sociologist, called it socializing their criminal tendencies. What if you give those kids a chance to tweak cars and make race cars and actually have electric car races here? That's just one little problem, a little band-aid in a systematic solution. What if you start recycling cars here instead of shipping them somewhere else? So now you're educating kids, you're innovating, you're developing trades. You've got mechanics, electricians, engineers. So kids that might have been stuck, who can't go further because they dropped out of school, and then suddenly they have their mind opened. You mean I can innovate? I don't have to go to Silicon Valley for this? And then you got mechanics, electricians, and engineers, chemists. The oil in any machine is 100% recyclable. It just gets dirty. When you go to the oil fields, it takes 20 liters of water to purify 1 liter of oil. It only takes 1 liter of water to purify 1 liter of oil, to recycle it. Imagine if you started recycling oil here, how much money you could save. Again, don't think too big. Do 3-4 businesses together. It reduces your cost because there's no end goal of making profit for somebody else with no attachment to the community. Let's go a little further. Farm technology. There's free plans online to build solar tractors. So now you have the solar panels you're building here. You've got already people building electric cars. Let's go a little further. I know a lot of people are moving to Northern Ontario because land is cheap, so they could go back into farming, but then they can't afford it because the tractors are so expensive, fuel is so expensive. But what if you started building tractors here? Again, maybe a college, university, or high school project. You've got engineers moving here. You've got all sorts of people moving here. If you go online, it's called open source ecology. There's a bunch of nerds building everything and then putting the plans online for free. So this can be done. Affordable housing. We build presently the most inefficient homes out there. And they don't survive anything. They don't survive fires, they don't survive earthquakes or hurricanes. Anybody here ever hear of the monolithic dome? Anybody here know of Barba Papa? They made a big bubble and then covered it with cement. In Sudbury, if you ever had a chance, go online, look up the All Nations Church, they're building one. And then they realize, oh my God, this is costing half to build, it's using half to heat it and half to light it. Hey, what if we started making this community project, a social enterprise? Let's take the people that are marginalized and teach them how to build this and start building pods. So they want to build actually a little village. If you see on the pictures there, you can build a bubble and then poof, poof, put a door in it, put windows in it, and you've got your house. And if you look online, they survived hurricanes, forest fires, everything, earthquakes. And then hook them up on a microgrid. And with that microgrid, then also hook up on a biodigester system. And then you can have yourself, let's go a little further, community workshop. I like to call that the community incubator. This would bring the solution market segmentation, when every single retired person in Canada is an expert in something, but they don't have the energy to do it 40 hours a week anymore. We just went to a lot of community consultation. The problem we have right now in Northern Ontario, there's not enough tradespeople to supervise the apprentices. Well, what if you developed community incubators where you have people who come in 3 hours a day or maybe a week, and they could supervise these youth who can learn how to do this? And it's for the benefit of the community. It costs less to live. We're still paying taxes, so the government is still happy, but the money is not leaving the area, it's staying here. Community gardens, workshops, mechanic shops, absolutely everything from A to Z could be done. And the third solution is open source technology. Google is making billions at it, sharing information for free. Isn't that something amazing, actually sharing information for free? Universities doing with the MOOCs, massively open online course. You can go online to the best universities in the world and actually take courses for free. And then you can handpick them. So you don't have to pay $10,000 to have access to a program. You can actually go test drive them. It opens the door to people who have been marginalized because they can't afford to do it. Around the world, people share technological advancement. Start at the community-based level. Now see everything presenting. Now think how if you did this, how you'd have much better retention. the kids wouldn't have to leave. Yes, some of them will choose to, but maybe just a percentage will choose to stay. Do we have time for questions?
We have 5 minutes for questions.
Okay. I'm open to questions.
My name is Eduardo. I must say, your speech here was pretty provocative. In the best or worst sense of the word, I don't know. Where I have my problems is with you almost bashing making a profit. Profit is not a dirty word. Because when you say Google gives so much for free, they only can give for free if they made somehow money with something, and then they can give something for free away, which is very little compared to what they actually take in. Now, I am also aware of the problems we have with the workforce here in Northern Ontario. And trust me, if we would community life you are recommending here, I would say we would have to go and scale back our style of life quite dramatically. Otherwise, we would not be able to do so. So, look, profit at all costs is not a good thing, for sure not. But in order to be happy, to make it workable, you have to give somebody the possibility to make profit so he can do something more with it. If I am only getting in the cost for what I did, I am unable to develop something. It's not possible. So it's co-ops cannot be the answer for everything. In certain areas, in small entities, it might be a possibility. There is no question. But looking back for a few years now, we have a workers' co-op here, built by the labor unions and fed by people from Bombardier and Resolute, etc. They had to close down. And why? Because the efficiency wasn't there anymore, and they could not compete. So before we think that what you said is the holy Bible of economics, we have to think also at the other side. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. You're absolutely right. And I'm not an economist, I'm a sociologist. So when I said make money, what the term I should have used is profit. It's okay to make profit. It's okay to make a living. It's okay to try to move ahead. And you're absolutely right with that. I'm sorry if I offended anybody. And it's true, the social economy or the co-ops are not a fix-all. It is a solution for certain problems. If any of you have a chance to go see, there's a documentary called Heaven on Earth, The Rise and Fall of Socialism. It explains every single one of social development ideas, or socialism ideas that have failed. So it's true that does not all work. And I'm not given I'm trying to give ideas, not a fix-all solution. Thank you. Yep.
Depends on what you say, and I agree somewhat with the last comment. But I certainly agree with what you have presented, but from the point of view of transparency. And I think that's what you are really doing, because you're pointing out alternatives that perhaps need to be better known. One thing speech, but an analogy for me is the dishwasher that produces scum on the glasses and some solution is to make a larger cup for soap, and it still makes scum, so you make a second cup for a detergent that will take off the scum. Transparency solution to that is if you start by using only enough soap to fill a tablespoon, you will not have the scum in the first place. But transparency, I think, is what is important, and I think that's very interesting.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much for your time. It's much appreciated.
Thank you very much, Christine. And Christine will be doing a presentation later on. On Francophone Immigrant Support Network and why they belong. Okay, so we'll take 5 minutes to transition, and we have Emmanuel will present to us from our brother. And is George here? Okay, perfect. So that will move us into our next segment. So the other workshops we have today, Daniela Beckford, you are here, okay. And Heather? Okay. So all my facilitators are here. I'm happy. Okay. There you go. Now, how did you not think of that before? So I hope I didn't do it. I hope everyone had a chance to grab refresher coffee and tea. And if you'll find your way back to your seats, we will like to keep on schedule today. After 11 years, I've got this down path. Okay, I'd like to welcome Emmanuel Pick from Bombardier, who will be our next presenter today. And you have your little...
Good morning, everybody. I'm very happy to be here and to be given the opportunity to introduce myself and to share with you my personal story, because when I was approached by Doug Murray and Piero Pucci and Michel Lander, they said, well, would be very interested in seeing your personal story and how your life as a new immigrant in Thunder Bay looks like. So I just wanted to show you this presentation, and it's more an interactive presentation because I want to make it fun. We need some fun today, as you know. All right, so here's myself. So I just thought that it would be a good idea to show a picture of me without my braces, so because it's been 2 years now. So I'm 43. Very soon, it will be in a month, and I'm a French citizen, and I moved to Thunder Bay with my spouse and my cat, the poor cat. Can you imagine that he spent 21 hours in a pet box, just flying? Ooh. He was just scared, but I remember when we needed to go through the police check, everybody was happy to see this beautiful cat in my arms and say, oh, where are you going? Oh, I'm moving to Canada. And everybody was saying, well, that's great, you are moving to Canada. I said, maybe I took the right decision. So I moved here. Yeah, I think it's, I know I'm an engineer by trade, but if you put 2 microphones in the same area, that might do some lesson, but that's okay. So, I'm the Technical Services Director for Bombardier. So, you know that Bombardier is the biggest employer in northwestern Ontario. And I'm responsible for methods, plant engineering, maintenance, special processes, tooling, so everything related to technical activities. I'm graduated from the National French Mechanical Engineering School, and I am holding a master's degree in mechanical and material engineering. And I had that with honors. Yeah, so I think I'm all set to do a good job here in the community for sure. And I got married in Thunder Bay last November, and I was very happy to do it here after 10 years of common law with my spouse. And that was really a great event. And I will come back later about that event because I think that's also one of the big assets that we have in this community, really the open-mindedness. So, you know, Thunder Bay area is really 122,000 people. And as I mentioned, I was born and raised in the north of France, so that's in Lille. It's just to give you an idea, it's 2.5 hours north from Paris and 15 minutes from the Belgian border. And this is an area of 1 million people. So just to give you an idea of what it means, I was coming from this, So you see the architecture of Lille with this famous place. And I was coming from this as well. So can you imagine that sometimes it took me an hour and a half going from home to work. And I moved to this. Wow, this is the most beautiful view that we have in Thunder Bay. Isn't it nice to see that? Sleeping giant. Some of you, and sometimes myself, I forgot that. And I moved to this. Different, eh? That's something I really needed to take care of, because as a driver, everybody was telling me, be careful of the deers. And that's really interesting, because this is the first time I saw a deer. It was on Belrose Road, and he was just standing close to the road, and he was looking left, he was looking right, and then he crossed the street. I said, that's amazing. So, usually, one of the first questions that I get is, how do you survive here in Thunder Bay? Maybe people expected me to say, well, I brought my French survival kit. This is the French survival kit. Can everybody recognize that? Oh, I'm sorry for that. So, what do we see here? First of all, I was very surprised to hear, well, let's go and grab some French fries. I said, what is a French fries? Why are we saying French fries? I did some researches, and historically, the first time fries had been mentioned was in 1789 on a Paris bridge, which is called Pont Neuf. And that's the reason why first they were called Pont Neuf. But I have to tell you, French fries are Belgian fries. And they are the best one in the world. And that's probably why I was born not far away from the Belgian border. I really enjoyed that. And they are coming from the 17th century. What I was told as well is French people only have skin on their boats. And that's true. Look at me. Okay, I gained a little bit weight, but this is just my age. French people are also said to be lazy. Well, of course, they are working less than the others, but they are really generating more profit. And Uli, just for you, I have to tell you that a French guy generates $65 an hour, whereas a German guy generates $61 an hour. And here, so I don't want to be rude to you, because that's also a strong stereotype that we have here. It's French people are rude. I have to tell you that Forbes and Skyscanner, you know that this is an organization doing some investigation, some opinion polls. They have recently said that the Parisian, people from Paris, are as rude as with each other than with foreigners. And I can confirm that. I'm not from Paris, definitely. Well, French women are said that they don't shave. Yes, that was the first thing that I heard. One of the first things that I heard, and I'm telling you the story. this is not the case, because this is really a strong belief that people have from the Second World War, because of course, during the Second World War, there were different priorities for sure. Talking about women, French women are said to be easygoing, and French people are said to love sex. Don't know what it comes from. Maybe from Dominique Strauss-Kahn. Maybe you know that what happened with the at the Novotel. He was the International Monetary Fund president. But I have to tell you that really sex is no taboo in France, and that's probably one of the reasons why we are said to be like that. French people are also called the smelly Frenchies. So I just need to make sure that this is not the case today. Because they were said to use fragrance instead of soap. And that's from Louis XIV time, and probably the smell in Paris subway, for those who have already been to Paris. But you know that I learned, and also I'm really a fan of Looney Tunes cartoons, and there is Pee-Pee the Pew. And guess what? He has a French accent. So, just for your knowledge, the capital of fragrance is Grasse in France. So, think about it. And if you look at this French survival kit, there is also a white flag. Why that? Because French people are told that they surrender all the time. And when you look at The Simpsons referred to the cheese-eating surrender monkeys. But that comes also from the Second World War. But you see that there's a bottle of wine and cheese, and French people are told that they love wine and cheese. And I must admit that personally I love cheese, but I'm more a beer drinker. And I will come back to that. Maybe that's the reason why I ended up here. But cheese, are we only eating cheese in France? People say that we eat frogs as well. And I know that there are some British people. Yes, Stephanie, as an example. So I must admit that I've never eaten a frog. However, these frogs are eaten in Indonesia, China, Croatia, and Greece. And just to be very clear, I've never eaten frog. And I'm not sure that I will do it. French people are told to be small, and that probably comes from Napoleon. But I did some researches, and that's true, unfortunately. French people are smaller than Canadian people. The average height for French people is 5'8", whereas for Canadian it's 5'9". So maybe I should sit a little bit like that. Béret, baguette, marinière. Well, that's really a stereotype that we have in France, because farmers, movie makers, intellectuals who are dressed really like that, and that's really the image that we have in mind. But I should add something very personal to that. I think dentists and dental care are really good in Canada. And that's really strange because I hired a French guy in my team, and we had a good laugh together because the first appointment that we had here, just to take care of our teeth, the teeth cleaning took 3 hours, 3 sessions. And my guy, my team member said, well, it's as if I've never cleaned my teeth in my life. However, I used to go to the dentist every 6 months. So I don't know what happens, but I've never found out in any kind of report regarding the stereotypes from French people, but really the dental care here is really awesome. But having laughed at the stereotypes on French people, do you have an idea of the stereotypes that French people express on Canadians? Here we go. Hey! Canadians, they are seen as a country, Canada is seen as a country of lumberjacks, hunting beavers, bears, and mooses. Winter lasts 6 months. Well, it's cold and it snows a lot, and I must admit that I'm not climatized yet, so usually I love to joke about it. I said there are 2 seasons in Thunder Bay. There's winter and August the 15th. And that's something that Canada is really well known for that. It's really a multicultural country. The open mindset is really awesome, and the focus is really on the protection of the country and the human rights. And I will come back later to that because that's really my experience of that. And Canadians, they are seen to be the kindest and the most respectful people that you can meet. And that's the image that we have in France. And I must admit that it's true. Okay, there's hockey, beer, maple syrup everywhere, but that's really the nicest country that I've ever seen in my life. Okay, you can see on that picture that, and I must admit that it's true because I'm living not far away from Vickers Park and I have a neighbor who's really dressed like this. You know, this toque and the plaid shirt, and I was almost close to take a picture, but that's not really fair for me because he's really a nice guy. Canadians are seen that as living in igloos and having skidoos. Yeah, Bombardier skidoos. And there is a strong stereotype, which is all Canadians speak French. And that's not true at all. And English-speaking people, English-speaking Canadians, they say about instead of about, and a at the end of each sentence, eh? So, having said that, why a French citizen would move to Thunder Bay? Because you know the stereotypes that you have for French people, and now you know the stereotypes that French people have for Canadians. There are really good reasons. The first is really Bombardier on the mandate, and that's really what made me take the decision. Really, I could move forward in my career path, and the mandate that I had was really challenging. And I think I was given the opportunity to do something completely different in my life. And you have to understand that this opportunity might not have shown up in France. Because here, you are given the opportunity to make things happen. And that's really something completely different. I talked to you about it, the respect, the open mindset, and the kindness. I've never seen so kind people in my life here. And you know, we are talking a lot about respect. And that's true, there's always room for improvement, but I really feel that I can run my life the way I want to run it here. And that's something that we have to keep in mind. The economic development. You know, coming from Europe and coming from France, it was really at a period of time when it was really challenging in terms of economic situation. And here, there are huge opportunities. And we have the structure to support this economic development. And the CEDC, for sure, is one of the structures and doing really an awesome job. Lakehead University, Confederation College, wow. What kind of structures are these structures? They are really supportive. They are really wishing to make the difference in the community and having really the wish to participate and to be the really stakeholders of the economic development and making this Northwestern Ontario moving forward and making huge development. The outdoor activities, that's really something that everybody can do. Huge opportunity, no need to drive 6 hours to do something special. Everything is available in the city. I mean, most of it. There's no need to drive hours and hours if you want to get something. Maybe not at the price that you would like to get, and don't get me wrong, but at least we have everything available. The daylight. Yeah. Sometimes we are not aware of it, but the daylight really, it influences our perception, our way of doing, our way of being. And just having really long daylights, this is something that I love here. And we are close to the United States. That's another way of doing things over there, another way of having outdoors activities as well, but that's really a nice spot. And it's easy to go to Toronto and to connect to the rest of the world. I mean, yes, maybe we are remote, but there are really good connections. Then, maybe you are wondering what kind of challenges I had to face before making the decision to move, because you really understand the two pictures that I showed you. First of all, English is the spoken language. Yeah, for myself, not too much a big deal. I really needed to improve, just to be a little bit more fluent, just to have also the opportunity of speaking in front of you. Just something that can seem really easy for you, but it was really challenging. And for my spouse was not really fluent in English. Can you believe that when we arrived here, he could say, hello, sorry, I don't speak English. And now, I'm just sitting on the couch, and he's talking and talking and talking and talking when we have this. I said, oh, where is the time when he could not speak English at all? New culture. Yeah, everybody is talking about culture shock. But what is it really? And the good thing that happened here is that I was not in a French-speaking area, because the problem is that when you are interacting with French-speaking people, you can think that they have really the same culture. And in that case, you are really sometimes not aligned with the differences in terms of culture. The other challenge was really how to feel away from our family. And I know that it's not so far away, just from door to door, it's 20 hours, but just being can be a challenge. My spouse, he lost his job to follow me. We had to take the decision. He had a good position, but he decided to say, okay, I will support you, I come with you. Change of insurance company, financial institution, medical caregiver. Yeah, it's completely different. You lose your whole history. And then new house, new car, new currency, new food brands. And I remember that the first time when I was in Superstore, we spent 2 hours to do a grocery, to fill in our grocery cart. Yeah, it can really be strange for you, but 2 hours just looking at the brands, the contents, and everything. And you know, we are lucky because everything is bilingual, so if we had any doubt, it was really possible to look at the recipe in French, but 2 hours, it was really a challenge. And other habits, other way to cook, other way to deal with it. This was really a major change. So, what did I need to do in terms of immigration process? And I must admit that I was very lucky, because this was entirely taken care by Bombardier. First of all, there was a labor market opinion, just to release a work permit, valid for 3 years, which was an extremely long process. It needed 4 months to happen. So we were granted 2 work permits, valid for 3 years and valid until October 2014. And we had no choice than staying with Bombardier in Thunder Bay in my position of Technical Services Director. So can you imagine the challenge? Because maybe it was the right decision to do and to take, but we lost and we left everything in France just to take the risk, well, to settle here. And maybe it could work, but maybe it could not work. And my spouse got also a temporary work permit, but that was on my work permit. So if I decided to leave Bombardier, or if Bombardier was not happy with me, well, I needed to leave, and my spouse needed to leave as well. So what kind of positive aspects we were faced? I must admit that I had an excellent and an awesome support from Bombardier, the HR director, and the global transfer manager. And you know, you have really strong HR directors in Canada, and specifically one here in Thunder Bay. Because the empathy, just to put himself in our shoes, being professional and trying to help us as much as we can, it was really an asset. And I was so glad to meet this guy, and he's in the room, but I know that I just wanted to say that in front of everybody. because it was really key in the success. And again, it's business, it's professional, it's Bombardier, but the empathy was key. Just put yourself in the shoes of a new immigrant. The relocation support was provided for house seeking, bank account opening, insurance, and English training, which is excellent. That's really what I needed. And we had really respect and open-mindedness at each step of the immigration process. And I can remember, I have an image in mind at Toronto airport. My spouse with a pet box on his knees, and I had to deal with an immigration officer at Toronto Pearson, and she was coming from Poland, and my grandparents were Polish as well, and we had different conversations, and at never any kind of stage of the process, the fact that we were a same-sex couple and we were French was generating any kind of disrespectful, and that's disrespect, and that's really key when you consider what's going on in France. The challenges. The moving company, both in France and Canada. Unfortunately, that kind of things happen, but most of our things were broken. Our computer was stolen. I had lots of things which disappeared and taken by the movers company. This was addressed very in a professional manner, don't get me wrong, but it had really an impact in terms of when you move and you decide to bring your stuff from your home country to Canada, you would like to keep at least some stuff that can remind you of the time you spent in your home country. And that was really a little bit challenging at the beginning, at the very beginning, but at the end, it learns and it teaches you that the most important for you is really your family, your job, and the fact that you have to move forward in your life. Don't look in the back of what happened in the past, and don't focus on things like, table, glasses, pictures, whatever. This is not the most important. The relocation agent, was a little bit challenging because, it was difficult to interact, and maybe it was the very first time, part of the culture shock, but I think she wanted to do business more than she wanted to help us, and that's probably the reasons why we had some issues. We had no insurance history, no credit history in Canada. Wow. So I was considered as a young driver, even after 20 years of driver's license. Wow, that's good. Can you imagine that just to get my car insured, it was a little bit more than $400 per month, just for one car. No credit history. That was also just to get a credit card or things like that. A mortgage, don't even think about it. Oh, that was really a big deal. We had no respect shown by most of the car dealers in Thunder Bay. That was really surprising. Yeah. I'll give you a little story. I had even a car dealer who wanted to show me how an ABS system was working, just because I was coming from France. ABS system. So she parked the car Suddenly she speeded up, and then she tried to brake, but very strongly, and said, "You see, this is the ABS system." Wow. Okay, fine. We'll go and see another car dealer. And finally we found really a good one. So there's good people, right? Don't get me wrong. The lease agreement with our landlord, well, not very familiar with the specifications of the lease agreement, but well, after a year, we were kicked out. Wow. How can we now live somewhere else in the city? How can we find a house? And nothing happens by chance. At that time, after having built 1 year of credit history, I could buy a house. And that's what I did. So nothing happens by chance. Whatever happens, it means something. And we were very happy to do it and to take that decision. I wanted to show you this curve, because this is exactly what I had to go through, the change curve. First, you know, on the y-axis, you see the moral and the competence, but I think that was our personal move. First, we had the surprise, the shock, saying, well, everything is fine, we are very happy, our moral is really high. Then, having to go through all these challenges, we started to have some disbelief and frustration, and things were really different. We got really angry about some situations, even thinking sometimes, did we take the right decision? Even sometimes, we were really at a low level of moral. But then, all of a sudden, with the experience, we started to engage again and again with these new situations. And then we said, okay, we learn from that and we want to be very positive. And then it started for us to be the integration phase, and then a renewed individual. The good thing is that when we had to go through this curve, my spouse and I were a little bit delayed with each other. So now when I was completely down, he was up. And when he was down, I was up. And that's really the secret of the success. If you are with somebody you love, and if your partner loves you, you can go through this without any problem. 3 years after, as I said, we got married last year for our 10-year anniversary of common law, and you know that's amazing in Canada because we could do it. We did that at the marina, and we sent invitation, and of course we have no family here, so I brought people that I know, friends, colleagues, and I would say 99% of the people that we invited showed up. That could never happen in France. We had really a beautiful, a wonderful ceremony. Of course, there were some people or due to unforeseen or unexpected situation, we cannot show up, but it was really a minority. And in Thunder Bay, I was really amazed, and that was one of the best days and memories in my life. Now, I'm a permanent resident under the Canadian Experience class. So you can apply for that after having a year of experience in Canada. And then the process, it takes a year to happen. And then we got our permanent residency last July. We are still discovering Canada. It's such a beautiful country. Keep that in mind. you have a wonderful country. And no matter if it's in Quebec, if it's Vancouver, British Columbia, Manitoba, Toronto, there's so much to do. And it was very funny because the first time that my mother and stepfather wanted to visit us, my stepfather said, well, don't worry, we will be landing at Montreal airport, and then we'll rent a car because in 2 weeks, we want to see all Canada in 2 weeks. I said, come on, are you serious? And then I said, let's Google it on Google Map, and let's see how long it takes you to drive from Montreal to Thunder Bay. Yeah, I will come back to you. I said, of an old character home, and really enjoy it. It gives us also some feel that it's a European house, so that's really nice. I have a strong network in the city with new friends, and just the fact that being here, it shows that how welcoming this network can be. And I really thank all my friends and all the people, all my partners of the community to have welcomed me. And it's really a strange feeling because it's as if we've been living here longer. Flexibility, kindness, more open. I feel that because with people who are really open-minded and who are really kind, it really fosters you to be really, to have really the same way of thinking. I understand how diversity builds strong teams, and that's also an asset of this community, the diversity. I built my team, and I got the confidence of my management to build the team that I wanted. And no matter what kind of ethnicity, sexual orientation, whatever, it's really by this diversity that we are building strong team, and that's the asset. And then I feel that I could move into other places without any fear. That's really something that I wanted to share with you. The lessons learned? Well, the messages that I would like to share with you is really that we need to keep on supporting the businesses. That's really part of the economic development of this community. Just to attract talents through various programs. And no matter if it's small, medium, large businesses, this is really what we have to do. Organize employers forums in foreign countries with the support of Citizenship and Immigration Canada. This is really key to attract people. And I had the chance to attend a forum in Paris just before we moved here, and I did not move here following that forum, but that was really an excellent opportunity for companies coming from Canada to meet people from a different area. Promote the organizations helping the immigrants to settle. And Kathy and your team, you were really supportive. And the Thunder Bay Multicultural Association was really key for us to be able to set up properly. And it's not much. We don't need to have somebody holding our hands every day, but it's just a matter to be there when we need. And that's something that we have to highlight. Promote Thunder Bay and give not only the long-term vision, but the mid-term and short-term vision of the community. And I was glad to attend the strategy on what we still have here for their support. And I want, so I'm ready to to answer any question that you would like to ask me. Yeah, Huli?
I need to say something. I really think that when you came up with this comparison of Germans and French, Emmanuel, I think your calculator was frozen. Other than that, you did a great job.
Thank you, Huli. My pleasure. Yep.
Is there a group of French who get together here regularly? Because in Sudbury, I was born in Switzerland, so on the 1st of August, it's Swiss national holiday, we get together and eat cheese and yodel.
Yes, there is. There is the AFNU, and you will be able to make connections with AFNU. Yes, there are associations here promoting the connections between French-speaking people, and yeah, and sometimes, you know, when you go and talk to somebody, even at Home Depot or even in a caregiver, all of a sudden people say, "Oh, you are from France. I can speak in French," and then we start to speak in French. But that's really nice. Sometimes it's not so much visible, and I know that AFNU is really visible in the community as well. But you know, there's really some networking happening, and that's good to see that as well.
Do you find somewhat of a, obviously there's a different French dialect. There's always the comparison of the Parisian French and the Canadian French. Married to a Frenchman myself, I'm curious as to if there was a huge difference for you.
Yes, there is. There is a huge difference. And what I learned is that I really need to be very careful when I speak about the differences between French Canadian and French from France, because French Canadian can be upset a little bit about that. But I must admit that sometimes it's challenging for me to understand French Canadian people speaking in French and vice versa. But what I learned is that the real French is really spoken by the Quebecois people. Because when people moved from France to settle in North America, they really kept the dialect and the way French people were speaking. And people say that in the 16th, 17th century in France, people were speaking like Quebecois. So, but it is really fun sometimes because there are some typical expressions that are from Quebec or even from Ontario, which don't mean anything to us, but by translating them into English, it makes more sense.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
And he'll be here during lunch, so you can ask him as much more questions. We are 5 minutes behind, but I want to fit in our next speaker. This is George, and George is the Director of Human Resources at Bombardier. And we let him.
Yes, he is. I'm 5'8". He's 6'1". Yeah, there you go. So I get the great pleasure of trying to follow Emmanuel, which is, where is he? There he is. When I saw his presentation, I said, I'm not going to do mine, because I knew it was going to be this kind of passion behind it. And having lived through those 3 years, I did have dark hair at one time. And So I will go as fast as I need to. I'm told that I'm 5 minutes behind, and this will be more business than some of the stuff that he went through. Unfortunately or fortunately, I was there with him to experience some of the good and the bad, and we're still here. So it was okay. All right. Okay. When I put this together initially, I was just going to deep dive into, what are some of the things that HR and GTM, as Emmanuel talked about, what are the policies and what are some of our procedures and so on. And then I sat back and said, you know what? I don't know how many people in this room know about Bombardier. And I'm hoping that you know a lot about it, and I can go through this real fast, because that's exactly what I'm going to do. But we talked about snowmobiles at the beginning. That's exactly where the company started back in the early 40s. And then the company just grew after that. I am not going to go through each particular growth spurt, because I start seeing the food coming out, and I really believe that the people in the back will probably turn around and head for the food. So what suffice to say that this organization has grown enormously and quickly. And right now we produce trains and planes, and we're the only company in the world that produces both products. And we have such a variety of products, of which 4 different varieties are done here in Thunder Bay, of which I'll speak to a bit more. If I can just get this going, I'll be okay. Oh. Okay. 76,000 people in both in aerospace and transportation, of which what you have here in Thunder Bay is the transportation side of 1,150. Unfortunately, our share is only selling at, I think this morning, at 363, but I'm hoping that it'll get better, and it needs to get better. Okay. I'm in HR. Sorry, just give me a few seconds. Okay. I should just give you, you know what? There goes the extra 5 minutes we had, right? Good God. Yes, ma'am. Oh, you will? Sorry. Okay. Then go back. Sorry. Thank you, Stephanie. See, she knows me well enough. Okay. Next. Thanks, Stephanie. Okay, so Thunder Bay itself, been here under the Bombardier colors for 22 years, and we had a fantastic celebration back in 2012 where we invited the community. And for me, I should have opened up. Yes, as George Gasparino, I've only been here 4.5 years. I came with Bombardier, so I came from Niagara, so I don't have all those great stories that coming from France. But I was completely surprised how little the community knew about Bombardier when I got here. And then when we celebrated our 20th anniversary with Bombardier and 100 years as a site, to see the community that came out was just, I felt much more at ease and much more at home to know that people did know that we're actually here as an organization. So basically, we've got a huge footprint. The main car that we started to build here was the bi-level. You probably have seen it out in the parking area. And if you've been in Toronto, it's the GO train. It's that nice color green that for some reason the customer now has changed the color sequence, and it doesn't appeal to me, but I'm not the customer. And we build a few other type of products that I'll go very quickly after. Thank you. When I started here, there were 600 employees. We went up to the high of 1,400, and now we've settled into 1,155. There are two unions at our place, Unifor, which I'm sure you heard of in the last, I don't know what, 6 months, Stephanie? I'm sure you heard about them, and I'm sure you heard about the nice fun and games that we were having. At the end of the day, we're all back to work, and that's good. That's a good thing for the company, good thing for the employees, and I think a good thing for the community. We have another group of it's the professionals union, office union of Canada that we have, and then we have our management group. And there's the various certifications. I won't go into all the details, but we do have all the proper certifications, health and safety and so on. these are the 4 products that we produce here at the site. The one that started where we got our name was the top left-hand one, and that's the bi-level. And right now we are producing the last one that looks like that. We are producing the last classic, and it should be done by the end of November. And we are into our brand new product of the bi-level. So we've got a new product on the line, and we're hoping that North America rushes to Thunder Bay to put in orders for the newer product. It's called the Crash Energy Management System. So it's designed differently to absorb potential crashes that we don't want to get into. Then there's the Toronto Rocket, which is the subway, and you probably have heard enough about that, but you should try to ride it because it's a beautiful vehicle. And it's not your traditional subway where you've got cars that are closed off. You can look 6 cars right through, right from one end to the other, and it's truly a fantastic feeling. The one that we just launched in September, which was part of the anxiety in the summer with Unifor, is the bottom left one, which is replacing the streetcar, the old streetcar. And if you have the opportunity in Toronto, ride that too, because it's got all sorts of changes to it that allow people that are disabled able to get on the car without much of a problem. And in fact, we had a group of people from Toronto come up that represented the group of disabled individuals, whether it's wheelchair, whether it's epileptic, whether it's blindness, whatever it was, come up to our plant and help us design that. So we knew what we had to do, and we're getting some real good positive feedback, and it was launched in September. The bottom right will be launched in Waterloo, and then there's a bunch of other ones that are going to be launched throughout Ontario. Okay. Now we'll talk about the process. There's a number of departments that play in this thing of recruitment and getting people to come to Thunder Bay, and it's the same group that also work with bringing immigrants to our company and to our site. And there's the recruitment of the candidate. I mean, I was right from the start of it with Emmanuel, right to when he came to the country here, and we did whatever in incorporating him into the company. There's the whole relocation that goes to GTM, and I think you used those words, Global Transfer Management. And then there's the site-specific stuff. And what I'll try to do is talk about each one as we go along, and I'll go as fast as possible. Since I've been there, we have brought in at least 30 individuals, either from our what positions do we offer? It's a whole variety of positions. Not only do we make cars, we design them, we service them. So you've got opportunities in every aspect that you can think of. And unfortunately for Emmanuel, the word technical services doesn't really come in there, but he would be in product and operations and a little bit in engineering. So he touches a lot of those boxes there. And so at the end of the day, we have a vast amount of positions that become available throughout the world. How do we source people? We have what's called a global graduate program that is managed out of our Berlin office, and basically we look for masters in project management. And at the end of the day, they had a great experience, and they've all stayed with the company after 3 years of rotating to different sites. And so that's another great opportunity as a way to get into a huge organization and be able to learn, and for us to have people come on board right away. The trade shows, we have a number of trade shows that we go to. There's one usually in Western Canada, Western US, and then there's a huge one in Germany, which was just done, I think, a couple of weeks ago, where we show off our product and where we get people to want to join us once they see the great products that we have. The local career fairs, we have attended a few at Lakehead. We've done a few at Confederation College, but the other thing that we're doing with Lakehead and Confederation College now is with Lakehead, some good positive feedback with that, and we've hired two. With Confed College, not only the welding and all the trade stuff that they provide us, we also have the international studies program, where we have hired a great many people specifically in supply management and production planning. So there's another huge opportunity for us. The trade magazines, as you can imagine, and then our own company career site, where People go online and they can select wherever they want to go across the world as to what position they want to. And then we have our local third-party recruiting group. This is the headquarters in Berlin. What you have to what you should know is the true headquarters of the whole organization, that being aerospace and transportation, is in Montreal. The transportation side of the headquarters is in Berlin. The aerospace side of the business headquarters is in Montreal. So at the end of the day, this is a picture of the headquarters in Berlin, and it's a beautiful. Emmanuel, you've been there also, right? You haven't? Well, it's beautiful. I hope you get there one day. And this is where a lot of our GTM headquarters and our shared services are headquartered. So one of the biggest things when we bring, and I'm going to be using Emmanuel a lot as an example, but it's the same process for anyone who comes in from a whole different organization, in a different country. Basically, there's a familiarization trip. We want to make sure that the family comes to Thunder Bay to make sure first that they like it, that they understand it. Because even I, from Niagara, and most of my life was in the forestry industry, I knew Thunder Bay because I had to come up here a fair bit. So I was very comfortable when I came up here. But when someone tells me that Thunder Bay is remote, you don't have services and stuff like that. So the first step was to make sure the children and the spouses knew what was here, the education system. And someone asked about the French. You have the French academic system here. I mean, you've got it right from A to Z. And it was easy for us to recruit people from Montreal and their families because you had the French schooling here. It was easy for us, okay? The immigration process, I know what Emmanuel went through, and it was way too long, but he's here, and that's good. Yes, we do go through and help everyone out with the visa, the work permits, and so on, and it's for the whole family. The language training, we have a couple of people within the company that can provide that, and that's been really successful. Usually it's the English language, so we have one person that just provides that. The cultural training, it's a tough one to do, and it's more centralized, and we have experts that come in to do that, albeit the local person, the culture training that was provided was not to the level that I think we should have had here, and I know that we're going to another service provider starting January. And then the whole taxation, it's consultation for the taxes as well as helping you file your taxes in 2 different countries. I mean, everything gets looked at, everything gets shown, and everything gets turned over so that everybody understands this is what they're walking into. I will not have touched everything, but I'll tell you some of the biggest ones and I wasn't surprised that Thunder Bay had a shortage of doctors. And it was also like that in Niagara, but hugely more difficult up here. So imagine bringing someone from a different country and saying, well, I don't know where you can go, but try the clinics. Well, what's a clinic? I'm not used to going to the clinic. I'm used to having a doctor. Go to the hospitals. Well, I think you have a long wait. That was a tough part. And the other part that I found very difficult was when Emmanuel said that there's no credit history and there's no driving history. Surely, somehow we can figure out that people do drive in other countries and their status as good drivers would also apply here in Thunder Bay or anywhere in Canada. Am I doing okay or no? The food is still okay? Okay. So then when we're done with getting everybody here, what we do is some workplace orientation, and I'm not going to bore you with the details of that. We just make sure that they know the organization inside out. But then what we did was, because at the first year that I was here, I'd say about 15 of those 26 to 30 people were the ones that's when we hired them. And what we did was we just had a couple of nights out with them, with their families. We were at another hotel, I won't say, but at another hotel where they would meet the senior management with their families, with their young kids, with their spouses. And it broke down that anxiety that they may have had. And it was fun to see, the kids running around and the parents sharing stories and getting to meet people. Because once you put yourself in that little department, whether it's HR or technical service.
I finished my degree at Lakehead University and was going into my master's year, and every year I was writing, researching, working for nonprofit organizations, studying, and I said, I want a summer that I'm not going to do that. I don't have to be writing something. I don't have to be reading something. So I checked the job board in Lakehead University, and I saw, at that point, Canada Car hiring, and I thought, that's what I'm going to do. So I applied, and I was one of, I think, 4 women working on the line in 1987 or 88 or something like that. On the, yeah, the one that we were working on. There was myself and a silver solderer, and I'm not sure, but when I ride the TTC cars, and I look at the roof structure and the air conditioning, and I sit there with people from Citizenship and Immigration or from Ministry of Citizenship Ontario, I say, I made that. And they just think that's just ridiculous and hilarious, but I did. I worked there for about 6 months doing exactly that. Anyway, we're going to have lunch. Lunch is ready. It's at the back of the room, and you're at the tables that you are at, and they will clean things up in between, and we'll get right back at it when we've all got lunch.
Well, I don't know, but when I saw this, when I saw I am not going to go after you.
First off, I'd like to echo the broader 35,000-foot view. Proudly, Doug Murray, CDC, rolled out the strategic plan for the next 3 years. And main themes in that strat plan, which is on our website, I just want to hit the high points at this particular point. Table how certainly the sawmill industry coming back. Long Lac featured in today's paper, Chronicle Journal, in terms of that mill being reopened. So the supply services hub feeds a variety of sectors, not just the mining sector. Social enterprise information, a broad category, communications, ICT, regional food and film, which are very important to CDC and a number of players in the room today. And last but not least, the mining readiness strategy, which as a municipal organization, we are also regional, as is our outlook in the room with respect to Thunder Bay Multicultural Association and the opportunities that lay before us. And it's a very stimulating piece. Recommendations that came out of mining readiness, there are 52, 1.56, but 52. And these bubbles represent strong themes that we're working on now in terms of implementation. So the implementation's been well underway for a year. Justin Scott, who's at my table, has been working with Doug, myself, and other stakeholders, including the Thunder Bay Multicultural Association. As you'll see, at no surprise here would be the people category, 16 items right in here. And that includes really labor, culture, immigration, education, and training under the broad people sector. So there's specific recommendations that are on our website if you want to drill down on those. This is really the framework that indicates the plan going forward. And we're working on a number of these things simultaneously: energy, supply chain infrastructure, other broader economic development opportunities, housing. The people piece, though, 3 specific recommendations that fall well within the Thunder Bay Multicultural Association piece, and I'm happy to have Kathy and her staff, Brent and others, to be involved with our working group as we work through these pieces and identify key performance indicators and action items as we get involved. But certainly the recruitment of skilled labor around the world is key. Ensuring employment opportunities are advertised globally as well for the opportunities in Northwestern Ontario. The skilled labor piece is a concern now with the 4 existing mines that employ 3,500 to 4,000 people. But we're going to add 5 new mines in the next 3 years, and then a cascade of other projects to follow. 1,540 employees will be at these 5 new mines, 2 being built right now in Red Lake with New Gold and Rubicon, with the Rubicon and the Gold Core Koshner project. New Gold will follow at Rainy River, Emo, Fort Francis area, and then Treasury Metals at Dryden, Premier Gold at Geraldton, and then the story will begin. The comment about Ring of Fire made earlier today, it's quite right. We often, I think Emmanuel mentioned it, we get caught up potentially thinking that's the only project on the landscape. On the mineral sector front, gold is leading that charge, and that's one of my messages today. Ring of Fire will happen in due course, but there's a variety of metals that helps insulate us from price fluctuations. The hardship of the chromite and the iron price points right now are really quite startling around the world. And that's really one of the challenges for Ring of Fire, amongst other things. But certain things like graphite, copper, palladium, platinum are also very valuable minerals that will be mined on other projects. One of the other pieces as well is looking at a international recruitment